Uh, I want to let everybody know I'm very excited that Mike Albo is here with me at the Queer Love Project. And I'm going to introduce you, but then I'm going to play a clip in a minute. And so then you can introduce yourself through that as well. But first, Mike, it's 2 days before your new audio original's out, and you're talking to me. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you. And yes, you're right. It's 2 days. Holy crap. It's happening.
I mean, by now you've had your excitement built up and destroyed so many times.
It's so true. It's so true.
You're you're used to this.
Yes, I've been run over by a tank emotionally at least 14 times.
All right. Well, for everybody who doesn't already know, Mike Albo is a writer and performer, and as he says in Hologram Boyfriend, he's a submerging artist. His novels include Ornito, The Underminer, which I love. Actually, that's when I first met you, because I was at New York Press at the time, and a friend of mine had a crush on you. So you don't know this, but I emailed you to say, "Oh, let's do something on The Underminer," and so that was that.
Oh, that's cool.
Which you co-wrote with Virginia Heffernan. His YA novel, Another Dimension of Us, came out in 2023, which we're also going to talk about a little bit because I have some analysis I want to get your take on. And as I mentioned, his audio memoir, Hologram Boyfriend, Sex, Love, and Overconnection, is out on Tuesday, which is October 28th. So congrats.
Thank you. I'm so happy it's happening finally.
Well, tell me why this is your first audio first. You've done Kindle singles, you did the junket, you did Spermhood. So you're not afraid of new formats and new ways of doing things, but this is your first audio first publication.
Yeah, it's funny now that I think of it. Both Spermhood and the Junket were, I think I wrote them first and then I turned them into solo shows. Um, so in a way, they're kind of like a larval version of this. I've been performing and writing for so long now. There's usually a kind of a porous relationship between stage and page for me. Um, so when this opportunity came along, um, Robert Allen at Macmillan Audio, I think his title is editorial director. Nice guy. He came to us a show of Unitard, my comedy troupe that I have with Nora and David, and said, "Hey, do you want to do like an audio original?" And I was like, "Wow, it sort of opened up my mind to the idea of one, and I'm really excited about it because I'm hoping that it's kind of like not well, a lot of people come see your shows and not a lot of people read your books, but maybe here's the third way. So if you don't like me, if you don't like hearing me, then screw you."
Well, I mean, that's actually a really good point. I mean, performance is somewhat ephemeral, and you're now capturing that lightning forever. So, how do
Yeah.
you feel about it?
Um, it was it was a really great experience. It was the audiobook is mostly done in the studio, and there are some live elements that we captured um at Parkside Lounge. We did a reading at Parkside Lounge, and I did about an hour of material that we kind of put here and there in the book itself. Um, and I also, over the past 3 years, have been working with a vocal coach and an acting coach, and then
Hmm.
for the recording of the book in the studio, I worked with a vocal coach, Sean Pratt, who is, get ready, he did the voice for Infinite Jest. Can you believe it? He did all
Oh,
30 hours of Infinite Jest. So he knows his shit, man. And he was great. He was a real nice guy to talk to, and he taught me a lot about scoring the text and just kind of preparing yourself for reading. So it's been a over the past 5 years, as much as I've been performing, I really have done a lot of vocal work lately.
mhm.
Things that I think an actor would have learned if I had ever studied acting, but now I have all these vocal techniques that I probably would have done if I went to school for acting.
Well, you're a man of many talents. I know you've cobbled together lots of unusual jobs, and you mentioned that in the book as well. You don't name it by name, but I think you talk about working at Logo and writing their brand Bible, and that was an interesting. It was interesting to hear that because so much has changed over the last 15 years, 20 years, and yet everyone acts like everything is the same. And that's really what you're talking about in the whole point of this book, right? Because you talk about how your desire has been commodified, how it's been chopped up and sold back to you, and how so much of our desire now is in our pockets in this device. And yet people forget that the iPhone didn't exist before 2007. Before that, we were still doing things, right? We had Manhunt. I remember my first time ever doing any of this kind of stuff was on Craigslist.
Yes.
And, like going to the man for man, weird, skeevy thing that you would try to decipher. Then you had to send photos in an email. I
Yep.
actually shared my special sex email with my partner. So we both used the same email to do the back and forth of
So
here's my
romantic.
photo. Yeah, exactly. And I remember telling the guy, oh yeah, this is my first time ever talking to someone on the internet for this kind of thing. And he was like, thought that was my pickup line or something. But you kind of go through this. You say you've joined every single site and every app
Oh my
and
God.
what has it done to your brain?
Yes. And it's funny because there's also kind of a consistency to desire. I mean, before that there were 900 numbers, which
Right.
I never employed the 900 number, but I have so many friends who were in New York back in the day who talk about, oh my God, the 900 numbers. We used to do that all the time. There's always a way that, and in the book I talk about, am I the same person who would have done raised red lanterns and long ago in China? Do you know what I mean? like
Mm-hmm.
where how we all are always signaling is, and always trying to find ways to satisfy our desire, I think is just as old as time. But yes, at the same time, I do also trace how the 2000s in particular, from 2000 to 2010, was a real weird time for gay men in particular, um, as we were becoming marketable as
Yeah.
a marketing segment. That's when Queer for the Straight Guy happened, and that's when makeovers happened,
Right.
and gay men were shown not to be the AIDS pariahs and the sickly, sad people that we were before, but now we were helpers, style help experts, and that.
We would
And
teach you about culture and what to wear and what to eat.
yes, and
Avocado toast.
while there was always Halston, there's always been the gay man who knew how to do who knew everything and was stylish. It wasn't really captured as he's gay, he knows things, until the 2000s, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I sort of traced that marketing pathway that we went through as gay men, and that I tried to join. I mean, hey,
Right.
I'm not saying I'm above it. In the 2000s, I was trying my best to become a parrot with a belt person, but I couldn't do it. I'm too scrappy.
You wanted to be an influencer before influencers were a thing, and yet you tell the truth too often.
Yeah, I'm too awkward, and I can't hold my face long enough for self.
All right, I want to play this clip because it kind of talks about what you're saying right now.
I wrote this over 2024. That feels like an eon ago. I'm doing this now live in May 2025, which I can already tell will feel like another eon from now. But throughout my life, despite regime change, chaos agents, obtruding technology, and fickle fashion, one thing has remained constant: my search for love, passion, union, belonging. I'm sure there's a perfect Portuguese word for it. I mean that desire that's burning inside me. It just keeps churning constantly, whether it's 1985 or 2025. In fact, it feels older than me. It's the part of me that feels ancient. Meanwhile, my love life has always been a spectacularly absurd, messy maze, and then I got a smartphone. The sick joke is to write about how my desire fused with my devices. I have to write on these devices. Unfortunately for me, I'm not one of those writers who can afford to sequester themselves in a cabin and write in longhand with long-suffering assistant wives to transcribe their work. I wish I could be one of those removed writers, but it's never easy for me to just write something and, satisfied, step away, light a vanilla-scented candle, and enjoy a warm mug of green tea. It never works like that for me. Writing ends up being a two-way street. It always slaps back. So I should have expected that while I was working on this, some really strange shit would happen.
I'll stop there. You got to listen to yourself enough. Well, that is obviously one of the live segments of Is at Parkside Lounge. So we get the laugh track. But yeah, I mean, what I found interesting about that is you mentioned 1985 and 2025, and your YA book is set in 1985.
Yes, you're right. Wow, didn't even think about that. You're correct.
And and what I was thinking was, well, let's talk a little bit about that. So, it is Another Dimension of Us, and tell people who haven't read it yet and who should read it. I mean, it's, when you're in your 50s, you're like, should I be reading YA? That's creepy, but you're writing it, so tell us a little bit about the central plot of it.
Another Dimension of Us is about these kids in the 80s who find a book on how to astrally project, and it just screws up their lives. But it's sort of centered around a boy who's 15 who is besotted with his best friend Ronaldo, who is a brilliant poet and a beautiful person. And it's about, when I was in high school, of course, I was obsessed with my friend who was a poet, but I was on the literary magazine, and I wanted to just talk about those literary magazines that are just so important in high school. At least they were for me, where you get to write your poetry and see it in print. And then it was really fun when I was reading from Another Dimension of Us to various people. I would love to hear the name of their literary magazine. Like mine was Symposium, but my friend Suzanne's was Glimifrey. There's like, I just love the name. They're always like, like they're always Mosaic. They're always these great names. So it's about poetry and longing back in the 80s with these kids.
Well, and it's, as you mentioned, I listened to Hologram Boyfriends first, and then I went and listened to Another Dimension of Us, and I then was like, oh, I get it, because you're basically channeling those intense adolescent obsessions and desires that you talk about still having. And,
yeah.
But what I found really interesting was, okay, here's my big profound analysis, is that in the 80s, you, let's just say you and these boys, us, we were trying to have these connections. We didn't know if we were ever going to meet another gay person. We didn't know if we were the only one. And we were just so intense, like wanting to connect. And you have these boys basically having an out-of-body experience, leaving their bodies to connect. And what I found interesting is now in 2025, we have this device that promises us leaving our bodies to connect. And what you say is, I'm connecting with thousands of people that I never would have had an opportunity to connect with, right? Like they might be in China, they might be in Israel, they might be anywhere on the planet, which when you were a teenager, we were lucky if we met 10 other people, let alone 1,000 or 10,000. And in New York, it seems like unlimited, right? So
yeah.
So you basically have the same themes. You're talking about this intense need of connection and how we'll do anything to do it.
Absolutely. And you're reminding me, like, I feel like there were so many times when I was in my room at 15 and imagining a plane flying overhead and being like, there's somebody there who I might be in love with, like that there was this outer world that I couldn't quite get to or couldn't quite reach. And to be a kid now and to have that connectivity, I can't even imagine. I feel like I'm happy that I didn't have it back then, because I would be a ding dong freak about it. I don't have any self-restraint. So I'm glad I had like some restraint put on me. But yeah, you're right. To have that much connection is infinite. And as a Gemini rising, all I want to do is talk to people and chat with people. And, and now that I have this ability to friend and have buddies and all this stuff, I'm always just like, how's your grad school studies going? Like, oh, I hope you get to Ohio. Like, I just know so many people's lives. Like this lawyer I know down in Florida who has two kids and is paying child support and had a horrible divorce. And I'm just like, oh, I get so worried about him, and I hope he's doing okay. It's crazy
So,
that
I,
the amount of
I
connection
mean,
that I want.
it's and yet those connections, are they deep? Are they important? I mean, obviously you have met some people who've had lasting impact on you, and you detail some of those in these essays and in some chapters. Um, like you wouldn't have, I mean, during the pandemic, for example, you wouldn't have met the young man that you talk about, the beautiful Chinese man, I think his
Yeah,
name is. What's his name? You use?
I call him Lee in the
Yeah.
yeah
And so that is special, right? That we
yeah
do have those opportunities that wouldn't have existed because you would have just been isolated uh, in your room listening to Kate Bush like you were when you were 15.
yeah. And even if there was and I don't think I would meet a beautiful Chinese man without the apps. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't think we would have met. We could have come across each other in New York in the same way.
Right.
And I'm very lucky that I met him. He's a wonderful person. But yeah, that's the thing is, this isn't Jonathan Haidt being like, our minds are being destroyed and young girls' minds are being, you know, cremated or whatever you want to say. Um, I don't, I see benefits and detriments to
Right.
our overconnected world.
Well, you mentioned the fact that our desire has been gamified.
Yeah.
And I think potentially, especially for gay men, getting that sort of dopamine rush and validation and potential for so many moments of that. I mean, it's one thing going to a back room and or to a sauna or to a sex club and getting rejected in person, or to get the satisfaction in person. It's
Right.
another thing to be able to say like, oh, I can do this thing and thousands of people are going to love what I did or respond or, potentially give me some of that little rush of feeling. So how have you mentioned that you went through some weird shit while working on this, and you talk about some of the stories from before, like your stalker.
Yeah.
But tell me what you were surprised by, because I mean, you probably went in with the hypothesis thinking, I know how this works. I have it all figured out. I'm just gonna tell you my crazy story, and then weird things might have happened.
I think I was surprised. This book is it's sort of emotion first. It isn't, there wasn't an argument I was making. It was more of an emotional journey that I was taking at the time. And it was written for the most part, even though there's an article that was in Out magazine that I then sort of polished up. So I wrote that, I think maybe in like 2005 or six or so. Um,
I
and
think you said 2007 or 2008, but yeah, around the same time.
okay, Um, and then there's that stalker story is something that I told on stage many times, and then I kind of expanded it as well. And that's a good story to maybe make the point with, because when I was doing it on stage, it was purely comedic,
Mm-hmm.
and then rewriting it, I was like, oh my God, that actually was a very scary emotional time for me, like to have this stalker um, thinking that that the world was made of robots and I was a glitch in the system, and that he was there to warn me during 9/11. So there's I think a lot of tapping into feelings that I hadn't really explored before. And so by the end, when I realized that my desire, and then I was doing all this work on desire and reading all
Right.
these esoteric books about energy. And so there's a lot of exploration I was doing with the way energy comes off my body and where desire lives. Um, and all that work kind of just happened at the same time while I was writing it. So I wanted to say that I wrote it pretty much from August 2024 till December 2024. So it is sort of like like an almost like a concept album in that way, in that
Mhm.
it's a segment of emotional time for me.
Mhm. And you, I want to talk about, you just mentioned 9/11, and lately I've had a lot of people submitting essays to the Queer Love Project about that time by happenstance. Actually, one of the people I saw who just joined Court Stroud, he had a piece which was about that. And, I wasn't living in New York at the time, I was in Atlanta, but it definitely changed my life because I think it got us thinking about what we wanted. You actually also mentioned, is it Landmark? Is that what it's called? Foundation? What is the organization?
Landmark Forum.
Yeah. I
Yep.
remember around that same time meeting people who were going through that as well. And it was all about this self-actualization and people trying to get you involved. I never had the money to be able to do that. I was too young. And then of course we found out it was like a cult. But during the pandemic, I was managing people when I was at Rolling Stone, and I kept saying to them, listen, guys, you don't know how this is going to change your life. Like this, I remember that 9/11 changed all of our lives in ways that we didn't predict, meaning like I quit my job, I found a partner, all these things. A lot of people I know did a lot of things like that. And then, of course, I was telling everyone that during the pandemic. And then what happened? I lost my job and went on a whole quest of finding myself as well. I was warning everybody, then it happened to me. And it sounds like you had a similar experience in the sense that a lot of the stories do center around the pandemic, which people already are trying to forget or have amnesia about, or post-pandemic, meaning like when we said, okay, now I need to go be happy or go find love or do all the things that I always said I was going to do and haven't done. So it does sound like, as you said, your concept album about you trying to figure out what is going on. Also, you're going through the midlife crisis time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the uh the 9/11 was a peak time for me in terms of becoming successful. Like that was
Mhm.
my early 30s when I was trying to make it as a comedian, as a performer, and then 9/11 happened and kind of threw things in a weird way. But then also after that was when I started working at Condé Nast, and we were all told to go shopping, and I think American culture became so consumer based, um,
Yeah.
up the wazoo, and then reality shows started happening. It was a kind of a the cracks on our reality were just beginning at that.
Yeah.
Um, the pandemic. I mean, I kind of had a I did have a great, I won't say I had a great pandemic, but if you were like, hey, can you just sit in your room and, listen to Kate Bush and write poetry for the next, 5 months, I'm like, yeah, I love doing that. I did that when I was 13. So I wrote Another Dimension of Us while I was sequestered in this very apartment. Um, so I don't want to say like pandemic was really great for me, but
No, I get it.
it was a time for me to go inward, which I've been
Exactly.
doing a lot of. Yeah. I want to say something else about validation and the dopamine rush. I there's another side to it too that I think is really interesting that I think I started tapping into, and that is when you're rejected online or when you're like
Hmm.
these little, it happens all the time. Some jerk or somebody is just like, you're gross, or like, I don't know, says something just so off and wrong. And there's this little dagger in your heart, it's like a, you know, death by a thousand cuts kind of feeling. And I don't know if I feel the dopamine rush as much as I can feel those little paper cuts that happen when you're rejected. Um, and if I can feel those, I'm sure the dopamine is just something that I can't really quite perceive, but I definitely can feel the rejection pretty well.
Well, I mean, you're a performer and a writer, and we always listen to the negative comments more than we do the
Yeah.
positive ones
Yeah. True.
and elevate those. But no, I know what you mean. I mean, I have actually never used Grinder, but I've used Scruff. And I mean, when you send a photo, when somebody asks for a photo and then they either ignore you and you're like, oh, I must be hideous or,
Yeah. Oh,
or
I
what?
say like, please don't look at my beauty to me. I was like, wow. Um, yeah, it's all
uh,
fun.
Well, so you talk about that though, the algorithmic erotic desire. Actually, one of my favorite lines, we always have a lot of great lines. In fact, when you were doing Critical Shopper, you mentioned your also column at the New York Times, which inspired the junket because of what happened.
Yeah.
My friends and I used to read yours and Spencer Wilson's and Horatio Silva's aloud, and perform them ourselves.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Obviously, this is after some drinks or whatever. And we're like, oh, well, let's read the Critical Shopper to ourselves and entertain ourselves. But you talk about not wanting this to be an encyclopedia of erotic errors,
Ah,
which is a hard thing that I realized just to say out loud because of all the R's. But encyclopedia of erotic errors is a really great line.
thank you. Yeah, th- speaking of like rejections that were bad reviews that you remember, I have a very nice review coming out in Booklist, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful review, and I'm very happy about it. But all I can remember are the two moments where the writer says that I have a peculiar psyche, and and then also that about his failed attempts at love, and I'm just like failed attempts at love, failed attempts at love.
I know. We're the worst. Like we condense your life into little things and don't realize that we're actually just compounding the negativity.
Yeah, it's so true. But it was really important to me to not beat up myself while writing about desire and dating and stuff like that. Uh, because I've done a lot of beating up on myself. And the other, the the fear I have, or the thing that I think I need to calm down about as this goes forward out there in the world, is there's going to be a lot of psychologizing about me to me,
Mm-hmm.
being like, well, you're just a commitment phobe, or you're just this, you're just that. And like, I've just got to be like,
You're just a Gemini. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a Gemini too, so I know I get that all the time as well.
yeah, totally. I know everyone hates us. Um,
We're the best.
we are the best. And I'll have you know that I share my birthday with Morrissey and Naomi Campbell. And I feel very
Oh, your birthday is the day before
bombarded
mine
with
then, because
people.
I'm May 23rd, so you're May 22nd.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's cool.
I
Wow.
know that because Morrissey's birthday is the day before mine, and for years I would celebrate it by having an unhappy birthday party, and we would do performative dance to November Spawn the Monster, and we would have an unhappy birthday cake. It was a lot of fun. I did that for probably
Oh,
too many years, but
that's so great.
and my husband has the same birthday, so we're all in the same boat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to play another clip. I just want to play this clip and then we'll get back to it. All right. This is from later in the book, another of the live performances. And so here we go.
Our friend. In college, after classes, my friend Virginia and I would go for frozen yogurt at the Texaco station on Jefferson Park Avenue, a few miles from campus. It had big modern windows and an airy, high-ceilinged area of chrome tables and chairs looking out over the gas pumps. It was weirdly a chic Texaco. She would play this game with me.
You should have gotten a lap
The beefcake ad in a magazine, some shirtless man selling cigarettes or exercise equipment, and cover parts of his body with her hand, hiding more and more of it while asking me, "Can you masturbate to this? Can you masturbate to this? Can you masturbate to this, to this?" Until there was just a little swatch of skin. I would say yes, 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 nearly to the end, when everything was covered, and then it was just up to me and my imagination. It has taken me years to understand that my desire for love, connection, intimacy, sex is an energy that can be shaped, manipulated, narrowed, reduced. Now I finally see that this energy, my erotic energy, has been packaged, cut up into bits, and sold back to me. Some really smart people figured out how to do this. Someone out there, wherever they live, maybe the Bay Area, no, they moved during the pandemic and bought a Montana ranch. Or maybe they lived next door to Tommy and Dee in Palm Beach. Anyway, someone out there designed an algorithmic erotic landscape to harvest my crunching, consuming, driving desire and made me pay for it. I can just see the whiteboard in the Palo Alto office. I think about that every time I tap or woof or like or heart something. Someone is making a lot of money off my desire. And I don't see any way out of it, to be honest.
So, yeah, that's what we're all living through. And
Yeah.
you captured it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once I decided I was exploring where desire lives in my body, I started perceiving it more and more as an energy. Um, I was able to be like, wait, like all this energy I'm putting into these devices, it's being tranched or whatever, like student loan debt or something, and being spread thin, um, and then being energized. There's this book that I have always been inspired by Angela Carter called The Infernal Desire Machines of Dr. Hoffman. Um, and it's a book about a evil man who controls an entire city. And then you find out that he's been controlling it with sexual desire. And he has like these cages with beautiful people that are fucking. And then he takes the kind of energy fluid from them, not the excretions. Maybe it is the excretions. It's Angela Carter, so it's completely bizarre to read. But he takes that, and that powers the illusion machine that he's controlling the entire city with. And I was always really struck by that book, and the idea of desire as an energy, I think.
I love that you are talking about this. It's actually what I'm obsessed with and what my novel happens to be about that I'm trying to publish. Basically, a character is trying to harness gay erotic desire and is both the villain and maybe also not a villain.
Nice.
And right there at that cusp of the millennium. Anyway, so this is why this obviously is of interest to us. I think you think as gay men we're more obsessed with this erotic energy.
Maybe. I was mentioning to you that I was on the Dads and Daddies podcast. It's going to come out next week, I think, or maybe.
Which is the Sniffies app, which I've never used because it freaked me out. But
it's a little freaky. It's very old school. It's very manhunt. But I was telling them, like, there's something, that this podcast that he was doing is the closest that you get to when you have sex with a guy, and then you're just sitting there in bed, and then all this truth comes out of you and of them about their lives. Often I'm the listener, so I just listen to these people talk about their lives like they finally were able to. And we're not all gay men are the same, but I do think there's something to be said for the mix of sexuality and truth. Maybe we see the truth through our sexuality more easily than other people, because we had to fight for our truth so hard.
Yeah.
So every orgasm is kind of like an act of truth, or in a way.
Maybe not every orgasm, but a lot of the good ones. Because I was thinking about that too today. I was like, because sometimes I wonder, like, why do I like sex so much? And I think good sex to me is when I feel like I can kind of leave my body. So I'll tell you a little bit about this. So when I was young and I was into all of my meditation and my breathing, and I was reading Shirley MacLaine and trying to have find my past lives and all this other kind of stuff. Then I finally had sex for the first time at the bottom, and I had this almost out of body experience. And I thought, I want to do that again. That's amazing. And I think in some ways, the best sex is when one can feel like their ego is obliterated and you're just getting this connection with somebody. So I agree with you there. If it's that kind of orgasm, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But that quotidian, like just getting off orgasm is not as exciting.
True. And credit to Out Magazine for sending me to interview Joseph Kramer, who started the Celebrating the Body Erotic, because I learned then so much about sex theory and about what you're saying, that there are all these different theories about sex, but the cognitive behavioral theory about sex does involve the heightened state of entrancement, getting out of your body, and that there's other roles that you play, other behavior loops, but a big one is entrancement, like you're saying.
I came to all of that much later. I actually recently read the book I was just trying to look it up. Daddy, it's the massage guy who was one of his.
Don Shuey? Was it Don Shuey?
Don Shuey's books, yeah. So I've been reading his.
Love him. Such a great guy.
And I also discovered some of that stuff by the original Butt magazine and some of the people that they would interview. And I actually, anyway, that's how is it A.A. Bronson? He does these sort of anal massages. And I remember reading that in Butt magazine and telling my boyfriend at the time, and saying like, "Oh, I want you to do this anal massage." This guy, this artist. And he was like, "Okay." And I like set it up, and he went and he did the whole thing. And we never got a story out of it other than me just now telling you this. I've never actually talked about it to anybody.
Now there's
But I do think that, being open to those kinds of experiences are important. And I guess my whole thing, and this is what I've been saying to people lately, is to get off their devices, to unfuse themselves, and to go and, see Mike Albo in person, to go see performances and do live things. And I actually do think younger people seem to be getting into that. I'm excited that Gen Z are into going to dark rooms, and this is like a thing happening now in the city. Like, there are sex parties, which I thought all that was dead,
I know.
and now it's coming back.
I agree. I think it's wonderful, and I think hopefully, the way that we feel about smoking now, maybe young people are understanding the phone as a kind of unhealthy habit, and hopefully they can help us all, because it's fun to dance with young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you remember when we used to go dancing, and I remember being at a club it must have been 2008, so it was still very early on. And I remember somebody saying like, "Ugh, all of this is dead. Everybody just wants to order in. They're not going out anymore."
Yeah.
And now it's 17 years later, and maybe people are going out again.
I like to think so. Back to the body, the eroticism practices. In Hologram Boyfriends, I have one of the last people I am with is this man from a Middle Eastern country who comes to visit me, and he is a practitioner of sexual kung fu. So
Yes.
he can do that thing where you don't orgasm and it kind of courses through your body, which is what the Sacred Intimate, when I was doing the story for Out Magazine, employed to me, but I've never been able to capture that again. It's really hard. I don't know how people do it. I've tried to like send the energy through my body, but I have a hard time doing it.
So you're not a kung fu master, a sexual kung fu master.
Yeah. I do like the guy who wrote Sexual Kung Fu, Mantak Chia, is a wonderful person. I mean, I subscribe to all his YouTube videos and do a lot of his meditations. But the sexual kung fu technique I still have not mastered, so to speak.
The first time I heard somebody tell me about it, they didn't call it that, but he was trying to walk around the globe. And I met him when I was living in Barcelona, and he told me, I was like, "How are you able to just walk everywhere?" And he said, "Well, I take my orgasm and I put it in my feet so that when I'm walking, I'm getting like an orgasmic." And I was like, "Okay, that's amazing. I don't know what you're talking about, but that is a good skill."
Wow. Orgasmic feet.
Yeah.
That's
So that's your next goal. How do you get your sexual energy into but you do a lot of yoga, so you are working at this.
Yeah, I do. I can perceive energy on my body from like this far away. Sometimes I can do it farther, but this is about as far as I can get.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
So I don't want to play this part because I want people to listen when the book comes out on Tuesday or whenever they listen to it. But I really thought how you end the book is really powerful. And part of that is because, you've lived through a lot, and now you get to a point in 2025 where, as you say, being a gay man is out of style. And especially being a white cis gay man, when everybody is something else.
Yeah.
And I've experienced those moments of feeling basically not welcome in queer spaces, even when you're like, "But what about me?"
Yeah.
And so tell me about that. Tell me why you got to that point and how why it's important.
Well, it's a difficult subject. And it's difficult to talk about without victimizing yourself.
Right.
Which I have
Or
learned.
gay-splaining to other people.
Yeah, and it's not a good look, and it never is a good look to feel like you're a victim. As true as it might be, or as true as it might feel, um, but at the same time, to have had experiences over my life from both sides of being considered, a social pariah, being considered the decline of civilization by so-called right-wing um, people, and then to on the so-called left wing to be considered out of style, privileged, just not cool enough. um, that both just to get
Or that you're the oppressor.
yes, that I'm the oppressor with this privilege that I don't know where it is. If you could tell me, is it the owl plant? I don't know. But I mean, I know as a white person, I have privilege. Obviously, there's some perceived privileges that, of course, I understand in America, but I don't. It was. There's been so many times over the past 20 years when uh, close friends have just been like, "Well, your time is over," um, you know, uh, and it's made me sad. It's made me
Yeah.
sad. Um, but I do think I'm trying to, if there's an audience of other gay men who might feel this way, I'm hoping to appeal to them, and just uh the only way out of it is to stay bright and stay buoyant and stay
Yeah.
hopeful, um and not be curdled and
Right.
go in what I call the dark room. Don't go into the dark room.
No, it's true. I mean, I do know some gay men who do. They. I have a very close friend. She's a black woman. She's straight, uh, but mainly identifies with white gay men, and she's very upset with the fact that so many of them have seemed to go conservative or right wing, or they support Trump. And she has asked me, she's like, "What is going on? Like, why is this happening? Explain it to me." And I
Yeah,
was like, "I wish I could." But I do think there has been some reactionary elements within the gay community because they feel rejected, and the way people deal with rejection is, "I'm going to be a villain if you're going to make me one," or
yeah,
"I'm not going to be your victim," or I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
they want to align themselves with power.
Yes, yes. And I think our culture really loves a gay villain. It
Right.
it makes money. It's an easy villain to create. There's so many effeminate villains in the world, of culture in movies. Um, so and then there's the bitch, the gay bitch looks good on a reality show. Uh, the mellow, nice gay guy doesn't really get a lot of attention.
Right.
So you're not really that marketable if you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, cool, man, like let's all hang out, um and in the book, without going too deeply, there is a moment when I'm with who I call Fadi in the book, and he's visiting me in New York, and he wants to go down to the pier because he was invited by this uh trans woman to join in a, and I was just like, oh my god, a young, all these young queer non-binary people, and I'm going to be with them, and we're going to cross ages and barriers. It's going to be so wonderful. And I got there and was like summarily,
Dismiss.
yeah. Um, and then I walked away being as walking up fucking Christopher Street like so many times before. That street is so like an emotional artery for me. So many emotional things that happened on that street. And from the time I moved to New York and was like a ghost land because of AIDS, like that street is so palpable for me. But yeah, I started feeling that feeling of like, here I am again. Like I'm not being I'm not having a connection. I and it makes me very sad. And so the only way out of it was to start feeling grateful for the things I had, and that included the shoes I was wearing.
Well, so, you know, I wanted to talk to you about this. I think this book is really important, and I'm so happy that you've put it out into the world. And part of it is because everyone is wondering, what do we do right now with resisting whatever's happening? We don't understand exactly what's happening. And my one way right now of doing this is just by putting and this is going to sound really cheesy, and I can't believe I'm playing it, but just putting love out into the world, right? Just like saying, hey, guess what? It doesn't all have to be happy. It's not all, but it's like we struggle, but we persist, and just reminding people that we all are looking for love, and that's what your book does as well.
That's so nice to
So
hear so much. And as fruity as it sounds, I 100% agree with you. It's the best thing you can do is just send out good energy,
right.
and it's free. It works. Uh, the bitches in my building, even though they don't say hi to me, I say hi to them. There's so many
But these are you call them the Kyles in the book.
oh yeah, the Kyles. There's so many as New Yorkers now, you see the people who can't look up from their phone and like in the hall or in the elevator. I just want like a smile, but they're like this. And you're just like, how dare you? So I'm always just
it's
like,
actually
hi,
become
hi, how are you?
I've noticed it's become a plot point in sitcoms and TV shows. They're like, oh yeah, if you want to not have to do something, just like pretend like you're on a call, just be on your phone or just stay on your phone, and then people can't bother you. So it definitely is a defense mechanism. Um, so, you're obviously in your daddy mode, and yet you didn't ask for this. But as a daddy, that means people obviously want to know what to do, and you're telling them, I don't know. But what's your advice for all those kids who want you to be their daddy? Like when they're saying, why can't I find a boyfriend? Why can't, and you're like, hey, I still haven't found one.
Yeah. Well, I believe, and when I had my advice column in Out magazine in the 90s of all, like in my 30s, like I knew what I was. um, I went back to those columns recently and reread some of them, and I stand behind what I thought then. And it was basically you find out the most about yourself when you're alone. When you can have a partner, of course, but you're going to do the most inner work when you're by yourself and when you're. So a lot of my advice for people back then was go out for a walk, look at the moon, read a poem, experience beauty, learn to have poetry inside of you,
The kids call that touch grass.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, that's very Buddhist. Um, and so I would say be careful. I've noticed, and I said this in the Dads and Daddies podcast, it seems like a little bit of a class income thing with daddies. I know sometimes I'm like, are you just wanting someone to pay for you? Or are you?
But you're like, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. I'll make you some yogurt. I make my own yogurt kombucha, but that's about it. But yeah, so what are you wanting? And learn how to take care of yourself. Learn how to love yourself. And as the great RuPaul says. So and then hey, and then age differentiated relationships, totally on board. That's totally cool. There's a lid for every pot. No judgment.
Yeah.
But make sure you got your center down first.
What?
What?
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you said I had my center down, and I was
oh,
like,
oh. Well, you do. You seem very centered.
Thank you. I think that's why people put me in the daddy mode as well, even though I'm like, when did that happen?
It was so surprising when it first happened. I was like, me? Like, I'm 38.
It started happening around 38 for me too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Gemini thing. Well, I want everyone to go out and discover Hologram Boyfriend, and it's out on Tuesday. And what are you doing? Oh, there you go.
I don't know if
Hologram Boyfriend.
That reverse.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Okay.
And yeah, it's something I've already listened to it twice. I'm definitely going to dip into it again and again.
That's so nice.
And more Mike Albo all the time.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. And I will be putting out a newsletter, and I'm also going to link to your Sydney essay because I wanted to talk about it, but now I'm like, I'll just link to it and people can see. Because I am worried about the AI-ness of it all, but
Yeah, and that's part of the book. That's I put that in the book too, the Sydney essay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so
Go
much.
enjoy your Sunday. Bye.
Bye.